The entire village was answering the call to tear down their houses and build orchards. Every villager who demolished a house received an advance payment worth tens of thousands of dollars. Once the orchards matured, they would also receive a share of the profits. Yet even with such a lucrative opportunity right in front of him, the young man was not tempted at all. He even gave his family land to the village chief for free. Meanwhile, he took his parents back to an old house deep in the mountains. He spent all his savings turning it into an impenetrable fortress. Everyone said the young man had completely lost his mind. He refused to make easy money and even transformed the old house into a prison. Little did they know they would soon be begging him to open the gates of that prison. Just a few days earlier, while the young man was working at the Meteorological Bureau, he unexpectedly discovered that his hometown was about to face a once-in-a-century catastrophic mudslide. His supervisor immediately sent him back to warn the villagers. To his surprise, he arrived just in time to hear the village chief giving a motivational speech, encouraging everyone to tear down their homes and make a fortune by planting orchards. The moment he heard it, the young man rushed forward to stop them. The mudslide will arrive in 7 days and the houses cannot be demolished. I work at the Meteorological Bureau myself. To prove he was telling the truth, he even showed them his work identification card. But the village chief's son snatched it away and tore it into pieces on the spot. He falsely accused the young man of being a liar who was stopping everyone from making money. After saying that, he stepped onto the stage and continued persuading the villagers to tear down their houses. Without hesitation, everyone followed the village chief to the office to sign the papers. Left with no choice, the young man took his parents back home first. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived, he heard loud machines roaring outside. Moments later, the walls of their house came crashing down. Then the village chief's son claimed their house was illegal and ordered them to move immediately into the rundown house on the mountain. His mother helplessly argued that the house had been officially approved years ago. They even had the land deed as proof and it could not be demolished by force. As she spoke, she brought the deed out from inside the house. To her shock, the spoiled son pulled out a lighter and burned the deed without hesitation. Seeing this, the young man could do nothing about it. But there was very little time left before the mudslide struck. He had to find a way to bring his parents somewhere safe, so he simply agreed to move out on the spot. Then he led his parents up the mountain to the old house. The place had been abandoned for 20 years and had long become a ruin, but the young man already had a plan in mind. He explained that the location of the mountain house was excellent. With a little reinforcement, it could absolutely withstand the mudslide. Only then did his elderly parents finally feel relieved. Over the next few days, the young man carefully planned everything. From the walls to the roof, every part would be reinforced with concrete. The insulation and waterproof layers would use the highest quality materials. Even the courtyard walls would be built from solid concrete. Once the plan was complete, he immediately began construction. In less than 2 days, a large sturdy house stood where the old ruin had been. At the same time, the villagers who had demolished their homes received their first advance payment. Unexpectedly, the village chief suddenly received a phone call. The caller claimed to be a meteorological observer and urged the entire village to evacuate immediately. But as soon as his son heard this, he grabbed the phone away. He immediately insisted that it was just a call from an unknown number, and claimed the young man had hired someone to spread rumors and scare them. The village chief agreed and even wanted to confront the young man. Fortunately, a few villagers still had a conscience. They quickly sent the young man a message warning him to hide for a while. They also admitted that many people had agreed to the demolition only because they feared retaliation from the village chief. After learning the truth, the young man immediately contacted his supervisor and asked them to send officials to evacuate the villagers personally. But right after hanging up, he saw a crowd coming toward him from the foot of the mountain. Before long, they were standing right in front of him. The moment they saw him, they started shouting insults, accusing him of spreading rumors and preventing the villagers from making money. The young man was frustrated that anyone could think he would joke about more than 100 lives, but the spoiled son refused to believe a single word he said. Just then, vehicles from the Meteorological Bureau arrived. The supervisor personally stepped forward and issued a warning, stating that a mudslide was coming and everyone needed to leave immediately. The villagers immediately protested. "Our houses are already gone and the fruit trees have just been planted. What will happen to our investments and our homes if we leave?" Taking advantage of the situation, the village chief claimed the supervisor was also an actor hired by the young man, and told everyone not to believe him. The simple-minded villagers were instantly misled. Soon a group of people rushed toward the supervisor like they had lost control. With no other option, the young man told the supervisor to retreat first and evacuate any villagers willing to leave from the lower areas. Reluctantly, the supervisor took out a document and asked the villagers to sign a liability waiver, stating that any future incidents would have nothing to do with the rescue center. The village chief quickly signed it. "Sign it and we can make money and live in luxurious villas." The other villagers followed and signed as well. Before leaving, the supervisor kindly reminded them that the mudslide would arrive in 3 days. Anyone who wanted to survive should leave as soon as possible. Yet the spoiled son still looked unconvinced. At that point, the young man no longer wanted to waste any more words. Very soon 3 days had passed, but with the sky perfectly clear, where could a mudslide possibly come from? Seeing this, the spoiled son immediately encouraged his father to go after the young man. He wanted the rumor-spreading young man to pay the price. The village chief instantly gathered a large crowd and headed up the mountain. To their surprise, the former ruin had already become a fortress-like stronghold. Yet the spoiled son continued mocking the young man without restraint, saying he had turned his own ruined house into a prison. When everyone else became rich, the only thing left for him would be regret. The moment those words were spoken, the young man suddenly smiled. Then he quietly glanced at his watch and silently began counting down in his mind. Just as everyone was laughing and calling him crazy, the next second the sky suddenly changed dramatically.